This week on Vaticano, we step into the world of sport and take a closer look at Pope Leo's deep appreciation for it. We meet Gabriele, a Special Olympics athlete whose faith shows that Down syndrome is no limitation. We then hit the track with F1A WEC driver Ferdinand Habsburg Lothringen, who tells us how faith fuels him on and off the circuit. And we discover the Coppa di San Paolo, where seminarians from around the world come together on the soccer pitch. For this and more, Vaticano starts now. Whether on the pitch, the court, or the road, sport offers lessons that extend far beyond competition. Solidarity, fraternity, and mutual respect are just some of the many values it can foster, virtues that Pope Leo has consistently praised since his election. Even on his apostolic trips, including his most recent one to Spain, the theme surfaced in lighter, off-script comments with the faithful.
Todo el mundo sabe que ahora juego tenis. Jugaba fútbol como joven, pero fútbol americano.
Everyone knows that I used to play tennis. I played football when I was younger, but American football, which was more physical.
Defensa, si quieren saber.
I played football with the seminarians when I was in Trujillo, as a defender, if you are curious. I was not a great goal scorer, but soccer also helps us remember something very important. Life is not a race to live in isolation. It is a team sport, and we have to learn to work together.
Y hay que aprender a correr juntos.
Since the beginning of his pontificate, sport has proven to be a topic close to the Pope's heart. Less than a week after his election, while the 2025 Italian Open was underway in Rome, Pope Leo received professional tennis player Yannick Sinner at the Vatican, together with his family and the president of the Italian Tennis Federation. One of the first jubilees Pope Leo celebrated after his election was the Jubilee of Sport. Addressing the thousands of athletes of different sports and backgrounds gathered in St. Peter's Basilica for the concluding Mass, the Holy Father emphasized that sport has a unique way of bringing people together and closer to God.
Lo sport, specialmente quando è di squadra,
Sport, especially team sports, teaches the value of cooperating, working together, and sharing.
che come abbiamo detto è al cuore stesso
These, as we said, are at the very heart of God's own life. Sport can thus become an important means of reconciliation and encounter between peoples and within communities, schools, workplaces, and families.
e lavorativi nelle famiglie.
In the first year of his pontificate, Pope Leo has taken time to engage with the world of sport through a number of encounters. A month after his election, the Holy Father welcomed the 159 cyclists from 29 countries on their final stage of the Italian road cycling race Giro d'Italia.
Know that you are role models for young people around the world. Truly, the Giro d'Italia is greatly loved, not only in Italy. Cycling, like every sport, is very important. I hope that, just as you have learned to take care of the body, your spirit may also always be blessed, and that you may always be attentive to the whole human person, body, mind, heart, and spirit.
Ahead of the opening ceremony of the 2026 Milano Cortina Olympic Winter Games in northern Italy, Pope Leo issued the letter Life in Abundance on the value of sport. In the text, the Holy Father praises sport and reflects on the many ways it fosters human fraternity, promotes peace, and helps individuals pursue what is good and holy, a message he also shared in person with the Olympic and Paralympic athletes at the end of the Games.
Cari atleti, voi siete stati
Dear athletes, you have been witnesses of an honest and beautiful way of inhabiting the world. You bring the idea that it is possible to compete without hating each other, that it is possible to win without humiliating, that one can lose without losing oneself.
The Vatican city-state is also home to its own official sports association, Atletica Vaticana. Its president, Giampaolo Mattei, described it as especially powerful to witness Pope Leo's genuine love of sport, saying it gives new energy and deeper meaning to their mission.
When the Giro d'Italia passed through the Vatican on June 1st, 2025, you could see it in his eyes. Here was a man who understands the world of sport and sees it as a means of evangelization and peace building. Sport has this capacity, as Pope Leo says in his letter, for proximity and accompaniment, for being together. These are also two of the foundations for building peace.
Established in 2019 and overseen by the Dicastery for Culture and Education, Atletica Vaticana reflects the Church's vision of sport as a path of human and spiritual growth.
Lo sport è anche una metafora di
Sport is also a metaphor for cultivating something more, something greater than ourselves. Then there is a whole dimension of asceticism, of inner struggle. Because an athlete has to train. A champion doesn't just wake up one morning and find themselves great. No, they have to train constantly. And it's the same with the Christian life. We don't wake up in the morning and discover we're saints. No, the path to holiness is truly a continuous ascent.
un'ascesa continua.
At the beginning of the month, with the FIFA World Cup due to begin, the Vatican released the monthly Pray with the Pope video prepared by the Pope's Worldwide Prayer Network. This June, the Holy Father is urging Catholics around the globe to join him in praying for the values of sports, that all sport may promote peace, fraternity, and communion.
We ask that sport may always be a school of fraternity, not of empty rivalry, a space of encounter, not exclusion, a path of peace, not violence.
Up next, Gabriele, a Special Olympics athlete who won't let Down syndrome define him. The world of sport is far broader than many imagine. Since 1968, the Special Olympics have been changing the lives of people living with disabilities by giving them the chance to grow in their love for sport and passion for competing worldwide. Gabriele Di Bello is one of the athletes on the swimming team. He has continuously proved that Down syndrome doesn't equal limitation.
Siccome io sto nello Special Olympics.
I've been involved with Special Olympics for 12 years. My first competition was a backstroke race, and I came in first place. I really enjoyed it. So little by little, I kept training. At first, I used to go to Rome, but it was too far away. Then, thanks to my mum and her team, we found this swimming pool. And now we train here 2 days a week. Then I went to the World Games in Dubai, representing our entire nation, and I placed third in the world. It was a very emotional moment because I never expected to come first in my very first race. So I was really happy and excited. I wanted to celebrate.
Quindi siamo un po' contento, felice. Volevo fare festa.
Special Olympics is one of the biggest organizations dedicated to promoting respect, inclusion, and acceptance of people with intellectual disabilities. Founded by President John F. Kennedy's sister, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, it saw its first international Special Olympics Games in the summer of 1968. The organization expanded to Italy in 1983, and today it supports athletes competing for the country at events around the world, transforming the lives of people with disabilities by nurturing their love for sport, including athletes like Gabriele.
Gabriele is a special young man, and like all special young people, they always have something to teach you, so there is always something you can learn from them. We're somewhat accustomed to our usual routines, where everything is taken for granted. Everything just is. For them, it's different. They are spontaneous people, and everything comes from the heart. So everything is beautiful to them. Everything is simple. and they are very curious.
Special Olympics coach Sergio Colantoni emphasized the importance of including people with disabilities in sports and acknowledging that they are just as capable of participating in sports as everyone else. The greater lesson, he shared, is often not what we give, but what we receive from them.
The misunderstanding that can arise is that many people have a prejudice, that these young people might have limitations, but they don't. On the contrary, we are the ones who should learn from them, and they give us so much in that regard. That's it.
Living with Down syndrome doesn't prevent someone from living a full and meaningful life. While there are challenges to overcome, Gabriele emphasizes that people with Down syndrome experience life much like everyone else.
Well, some people, even if it's a little difficult, need to understand that we too, as people with disabilities, should be able to do the same things as everyone else, even if it sometimes takes us a little longer. But we do the same things. We go out with friends. We can go and have an ice cream. So the advice I want to give people is stop speaking against people with disabilities. We are just like you. We are unique.
From the day he was born, Gabriele's parents were determined that Down syndrome wouldn't define his future. They gave him the same opportunities and upbringing as any other child. His mother, Anna Rita, said that involvement in sports has positively impacted not only his life, but the lives of all of his team members.
We chose a life plan that was different from the one proposed to us by the doctors and specialists who were following us. We gave him a normal life, the same kind of life his brother had, the same kind of life many other children have. Sports have helped him tremendously. His friendships have multiplied, not only with teammates, but also with their families, with whom he can interact and build meaningful relationships.
Gabriele's life and achievements were only made possible due to the decision his mother made to raise him without letting a diagnosis define his future.
Unfortunately, many people are still used to seeing a disabled person as someone fragile, someone who must be protected, or in worst cases, hidden away. Doctors often frighten people. In fact, they almost always do. But then you realize that this is simply a situation you learn to live with. I'm not saying it's easy, because there are certainly challenges, but the joy these young people give us is immense.
My parents are truly precious, not worth gold, worth even more. And my coaches as well, because they also believe in me and in the others.
Today, in many countries, a diagnosis of Down syndrome is often used as a justification for abortion. For Gabriele, none of his achievements would have been possible without his Catholic faith and his conviction that every opportunity he has received is a gift from God.
I always say that the ways of the Lord are infinite. I also believe in the patience that He teaches us. We need to have more faith. It doesn't bother me if others don't want to believe. That's their choice. But I do believe. I've always believed. And I've achieved my goals partly thanks to myself and partly thanks to Him, because He sends them to me.
The Order of St. George of the House of Habsburg-Lorraine brings together faith, service, and Christian witness in a living community. Rooted in the legacy of St. George, it was established in the 15th century as a military order to advocate for the Christian faith and combat threats to Christendom. To this day, it continues to highlight a spiritual life shaped by courage, charity, and fidelity to Christian values. But also, speed. Ferdinand Habsburg is a driver for the Alpine endurance team. And over the course of his career, he has won several major titles, including the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2021. He has never hidden his faith, and throughout his life and career, religion has remained a constant source of strength and support. In conversation with Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Chief Global Officer, Ferdinand shared what it means to live as a Catholic in a world where religion is not often taken into account, proving that while racing is all about speed, faith is what keeps him grounded.
I feel like faith is the most versatile thing that you can have. So it applies to everything, and every day I'm doing my performance. I'm trying to win races, or I'm preparing for anything. God is the center in every single way, because it's such a wonderful experience to be in the sport, but it's also sometimes very frustrating, like most of those kind of high-level things in life, where you can't control most of the things that are going to influence the outcome. I can't control the weather, I can't control how the tires will last, if my engine will last, if my team of 60, 70 people will all make the right decision to try to compete against the best. All I can do is do my best and trust that God will do the rest for me, and then try to win all the races.
So do you have like any personal routines or moments of prayer before you get into that race car?
Yes, I try to bring the rosary into it before I go into the car. I think the rosary is perfect actually, because it's also bringing you a bit into that flow state, that kind of repetitive, beautiful prayer to Our Lady who protects me. So I get a connection with her, and then also it kind of calms the nerves. And I think also what's really awesome is to live and exist in a world that is really discomfortable, in the sense that there is nobody there that lives their faith, or there is no faith there. And sometimes I feel very grateful, because I'm so privileged to have so many beautiful communities like this Order of St. George, where faith is so prevalent and potent. So I feel safe there, you know, you're like in your cocoon, everybody kind of agrees and wants to move in the same direction. And then the next day I'm on a racetrack and I get the complete opposite, where I'm being mocked for my faith. And it's so beautiful, because it's not good to just be comfortable, you know. Jesus was not comfortable. I'm not saying that I want to live what Jesus lived through, but I know that I need to be uncomfortable to be able to make a difference.
I know that once you had or maybe you had several crashes, but one crash was really bad. Could you talk to us a little bit about that, when you crashed into a wall with more than 200 kilometers per hour? How did you recover from that?
So we were preparing for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I raced for the car company Alpine, a French car manufacturer. Among my teammates, we tried our best to try to develop the car, but during development of things, you have to push things to the limit, including brake systems, of course. And we were developing, and we did a 30-hour continuous test to try to see the endurance of the vehicle. And in the last hour, the brakes failed with me in the car. And there was a few elements to it, like if it would have happened 400 or 500 meters later, I would have been over 300 kilometers an hour, and then, you know, very likely I would not have been walking now anymore. So a matter of a 4,000 kilometer test, a couple hundred meters, made the difference of me being able to go away relatively unscathed. I did have a broken back, which was unpleasant, and you had to recover for 3 months. And I was very confronted with myself, no question. But there were so many elements of it that as soon as I was taken out of the car, they had to cut me out because it was very deep in the wall. And I was on my way to the hospital. I only felt like this intense gratitude that I could feel my legs. And I'm confident and so grateful to Our Lady there, that I feel like she intervenes there, and she makes sure that we are confronted with our fears, but make sure that it's not something that we can't overcome. And so luckily, even though it was difficult for me to accept this, to miss races right at the beginning of my year, I was able to return, and I think now I'm a better racing driver.
But it seems hard to me to first of all accept it, to cope with it, but then also be ready again to get into a race car, where any moment that could happen again. Yes,
it requires a lot more faith than I did before. Now it's when the fear creeps in, I just think to myself, I know I'm safe. I'm in God's hands, you know, and it makes me want to brake later, actually. Because before, I never thought about that. I didn't have the thought of fear of something could go wrong. I just drove, because when you're 11, you don't think about it, and then really nothing terrible happened my whole career. I had the odd accident and I had some broken bones, but nothing where I was really worried. This one was scary because it was really dangerous to me, you know, possibly not walking anymore. And for me, that image of not being able to walk, not being able to dance, was so scary. I mean, let alone, you know, like you can also lose your life doing this. So, but apart from that, so it definitely shook something inside of me. It set some alarms off, and then now it's whenever I feel that fear, I just remind myself that I'm safe and I'm protected, and the battle has been won. So, and it just really awesomely makes me want to break later. So,
Ferdinand, thank you so much for being with us, and all the best for your next races.
Thank you.
After the break, we head to an inter-seminary soccer tournament where fraternity and priestly vocations meet. Many sports embody the values Pope Leo has highlighted this month.
Well, football is a great opportunity for us to be together, to build friendships, fraternity.
For countless people around the world, those values are especially visible on the football pitch.
Here we go.
For the third year in a row, an international group of seminarians living and studying in Rome went from cassock to kickoff at this year's edition of the Coppa di San Paolo, also known as St. Paul's Cup.
Well, football, a bit like the Catholic faith, is universal. That's why we can have a World Cup. And so it's a way of actually linking people together from very different cultures. And unlike other kinds of ways of meeting, such as going for a meal or going for a walk or a trip, there's a real aspect of teamwork here, but also of pushing ourselves to excel and to compete in a charitable and healthy way.
The football tournament was organized by the Pontifical Scottish College and the Pontifical Beta College to celebrate fraternity, the joy of vocational life, and show the uplifting message of the gospel in the fun of the game. While coming from different countries and colleges, all players shared one thing in common: feeling called to give their lives to the church as priests.
It's actually hard to explain the first moment, but it was like a really strong desire, pull towards the Lord in the Eucharist.
I think the most important thing was the Eucharist. To think that Jesus Christ every day at the altar gives his life, his body and his blood to each and every single one of us to be united with us. And a priest gets to consecrate a piece of bread into the body of Christ is incredible, and to be part of that is incredible.
The shared desire to pray for vocations to the priesthood and values of sport gathered nearly 100 players, including seminarians and priests from 9 different colleges in Rome for the tournament. Before taking it to the pitch, the rector of the Pontifical Beta College, Canon Marcus Holden, led a moment of prayer.
Playing as well in my 50th year of life, thanks be to God for good health and past skills that I can utilize for this role. I'm playing as a striker for the Beta College team. Well, it's really to bring seminarians together from all over the world. We're in Rome and we experience this beautiful Catholicity. And so we've drawn teams from different colleges representing different parts of the world, really to come together in friendship. A lot of these guys study together, but to play together is important as well.
In many ways, as Pope Leo has stressed, sport is important because it reveals, forms, and restores the wonderful harmony between body, mind, and soul.
Always trying to get my brothers to use their bodies as well as their minds when, studying and prayer, a bit of physical running around, I think is really good for you.
I feel like the unity of body and soul is more so kind of sounds funny, but I think it's more obvious when you're playing sports and when you're playing community team events. It's very Aristotelian, football. It's kind of this body-soul connection, which is a very strange thing, where we can kind of physically, it's almost like there's like a battle, but it's like a physical thing with like the spiritual element of friendship coming together.
Rector of the Scots College, Father Mark Cassidy, explained why the seven-a-side inter-seminary tournament can be an example of evangelizing through sport.
The strands of formation, there are 4 strands, and one, the first is human. You have to be human. So the idea of people having other interests, being people who are broad in their interests, it will appeal to others. We have to use every way of meeting people where they are. Sport is one, music is another, culture is another. People won't just come to church and be encountered. We also have to go and encounter them where they are, and sport is a great vehicle for doing that.
The competition and the odd slide tackle all came together to offer a witness to fraternity and vocational life within the church, and show how sport can be a place of encounter, not only with others, but also with oneself.